And thanks for staying with us, everyone. First up, Ghana secured almost $9 billion in total revenue since it started exporting crude oil in April 2011. This was captured in Ghana's petroleum account at the Federal Bank of New York. But how has the money been spent and what is currently left in the account? Here's George Afe's report.
The account showed that the revenue came from oil liftings and corporate tax. 2011. The report revealed that oil liftings from 2011 to 2022 got the country a little over $7 billion. Other receipts and taxes gave us almost $2 billion. But how were these monies spent? Well, the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation took $1.4 billion as equity financing cost. $1.1 billion went to support its oil exploration needs. $3.4 billion had been advanced to support the country's budget and projects identified over the past 20 years, as well as help in stabilizing the economy over that period. So has the almost $9 billion all been spent? Well, the answer is no. This is because $828 million is currently in the Ghana Heritage account at the Federal Reserve Bank in New York. While on the other hand, $1.9 billion was put in the Ghana Stabilization Fund. However, there has been some significant drawdowns on this account over the years. But for some, the question is, could we have gotten more than what has been reported with Ghana's petroleum oil accounts at the Federal Reserve Bank in New York?
Well, that was George Afe's report. Meantime, the Alliance of CSOs working on extractives, anti-corruption and good governance has disclosed that investors' appetite for Ghana's petroleum sector has waned significantly since the last petroleum agreement was awarded to ExxonMobil. Now, according to the group, between 2009 and 2023, the Ministry of Energy and the Petroleum Commission attended 21 conferences and roadshows in America, Europe and Asia for the purpose of attracting investors. However, there hasn't been any positive result from these conferences and roadshows. Here's Chairman of the CSOs, Dr. Steve Mantiao, addressing journalists.
Investors' appetite for Ghana's petroleum industry has waned significantly since the last petroleum agreement was awarded to ExxonMobil, who eventually exited for undisclosed reasons. While the government failed to negotiate and conclude negotiations on the blocks won through the open competitive bid round, it embarked on roadshows to attract investments. Between 2009 and 2023, the Ministry and the Petroleum Commission attended 21 conferences and roadshows in America, Europe, and Asia for the purpose of attracting investors. However, there doesn't seem to have been any positive results from these conferences and roadshows. We recommend that government should review its investment attraction strategy, as the current strategy is not delivering the desired results.
Well, joining us on Zoom is energy strategist Dr. Yusuf Sulemana. Good afternoon to you. Your reaction to the concerns raised by the CSOs about the declining investor appetite for Ghana's upstream sector?
Yeah, thank you very much, Daryl. Good afternoon to you, and good afternoon to your cherished viewers in Ghana and across the globe. Thank you for having me. Yes, that is interesting, and that's the fact that I've actually painted. But as to whether, the details or the veracity of what they are putting out, whether investor confidence has actually waned, is something that is a bit debatable, of course. But from where I sit, I look at it from two perspectives. One would be the fact that, generally investment into the world of hydrocarbon has gone down drastically. And that's a fact because there's a competition between the investment to the world of hydrocarbon and that of the investment into one of renewables. And so most investors or most banks at this moment in the Western world, they have been cautioned, to strategically not to invest or not to put so much investment into the well of hydrocarbon. Now, also with what the CSOs are saying, yes, they could also have a point. Because these foreign investors, as a matter of fact, Daryl, if your transparency regime is not that good, I mean, they can shun away. So yes, transparency is one of the issues that potentially can take investors away, especially if your regime is not that, very, there's no clarity in terms of your regime or whatever. I mean, or when the investors are coming, they have to go through a lot of bottlenecks in terms of who they are going to see. Or, I mean, there's no straight route with this kind of investment. Yes, so transparency for sure could be a contributing factor to investor confidence winning. But overall, what I would say is that generally, I think investment to the well of hydrocarbon has gone down, and so we have to re-strategize. Now, if you look at the quantum that has come so far, have we judicial?
All right.
I think we haven't, and we could do better.
Okay. So two things. How much has this got to do with the exit of ExxonMobil and the issues that surrounded their exit? And you talk about re-strategizing. You mentioned the fact that there's an energy transition going on. We're turning to fossil fuels now. What can we do to reverse this? All right, Dr. Isi Suleiman frozen there, but I want to bring in, if we have him, Yaolate, who is, okay, I understand Dr. Suleiman is back, so if you can hear me, I was just asking your thoughts about what we can do as a strategy to reverse this declining interest, if you like, and also brought up the fact about energy transition, just like you mentioned, more attention on renewables. Maybe we should also be investing as much in that.
Yeah, so yes, diversification, of course, is a way to go. But at this moment in time, I think what we need to do, we still have a quantum of hydrocarbon reserve that we can take advantage of. A quantum of hydrocarbon reserve that we can take advantage of. Hello?
Oh, okay, you're breaking a bit. Let's try this next question to see if we can get to hear you clearly. We are getting indication the country has so far secured $9 billion from crude oil exports. I'm just wondering, could it have been more since 2011?
Yeah, so yes, there could have been more, especially if you have strategized to increase, our shares. This $9 billion is just coming out of the very meager shares that we have. At the end of the day, the shares that we have as a nation from these three oil fields is not that much, and yet we can get this $9 billion out of it. And so, if you have strategized in terms of this agreement that we're doing at the end of, let's say, from the beginning stages, to get more shares in this field, I think this money could have been doubled or even quadrupled. But all boils down to the fact that how much do we have to bring in place? There are two things in upstream investment that will keep you competitive. Number one, you need to have the financial model, and number two, you need to have the wherewithal in terms of technology. Technology, for say, I don't think it's a big issue. Once you have the finances, you can still buy the technology. But the finances that we are talking about here is the fact that whatever we need to push back into the wells or into our investment portfolio to be able to churn that well, we haven't done that, and we haven't been deliberate about that. So yes, energy transition is coming, but I believe we need to be deliberate. We concentrate on the core business, that is exploration and production. This is simply because if we don't become self-reliant, at this moment in time, that investment is dwindling. Then it will come to a time that if players are not ready to put in like what is happening now, then we're going to find ourselves wanting. Right now, ask yourself this kind of, in the upstream industry, those who have ENI, Talo, and then the rest, assuming, God forbid, they should exit, I think Ghana upstream is going to collapse in a way. However, we don't hope that to happen. So how do we prepare ourselves to endanger that? To be able to take care of that should it happen at any point in time. Even if it doesn't happen, I can't fathom why GMPC has been existing for all these years, and even with this amount that we have received, we can't boast even a single well that we drill to our credit that we can extract oil in commercial quantities. That is not acceptable. So yes, we have to be deliberate in the investment. I mean, we can't spend so much on, let's say, corporate social responsibility to the detriment of the core business. That cannot be. So these are the strategies. We have to be deliberate in the investment. The technical know-how we can always get it. Yes.
We want to bring in Yao Latte, who is partner at Deloitte Ghana, for some more thoughts. And usually when it comes to our oil revenue, the questions raised, Yao, is as to whether we have properly managed the monies accrued so far. Your thoughts?
Yes, so I hope I'm putting all the there. Hello. Yeah, so I think if you look at or you listen to the report that was read, you will notice that we've used our oil revenue significant about 40% to support our budget over the years. And for those that you will say best practice, the UAE, United Arab Emirates, the Saudi Arabia, they use their oil revenue to support specific projects that support or enhance their development. We have used for budgetary support, and some of them move to consumption and things that are not long term. And let me tell you two things that happened when we were hit with COVID. First, we lowered the cap on the Ghana Stabilization Fund from 300 million to 100 million. So we could transfer the excess to support our COVID alleviation program. Secondly, we also amended the Petroleum Revenue Act so we could withdraw from the Heritage Fund. I mean, if you look at these three things that we've done over the last few years, using the money to support budget, reducing the cap on stabilization fund to support our COVID alleviation activity, and also transferring from the Heritage Fund, you realize that really we've not allowed our oil revenue to be utilized in a manner that will help in our long-term development. So I guess we can go on to what the best practices or what we can do going forward.
Exactly.
And as has been rightly mentioned, diversification is the way to go in the era of energy transition. Oil resources have not got infinite. They will not be there forever. They will deplete. They are not renewable. And so if you know this, you realize that in UAE, for instance, they've moved into tourism. So they are not only relying on oil resources. They are diversifying and doing other things that will generate revenue over and above their oil revenue. Secondly, they have engaged the advisors or independent sovereign wealth managers. So our Heritage Fund and others who are those that we engage are the independent sovereign wealth managers, so that even when you are hit with COVID, you don't touch that sovereign wealth. It is managed independently by a body who recommend how to utilize it and where to invest. And then thirdly, we should also invest in strategic infrastructure. Inland port, for instance, to support rail transport within. Our roads get destroyed year on year because we are using the trucks on our. But have you considered inland port where we support industry? So I think all of these are some suggestions that we should also utilize, focus on going forward. Otherwise, we'll be using our oil revenue for budgetary support, for consumption, and things that will not help us in the long term.
I'm just going to also ask you about the concerns raised about the declining interest in the upstream sector from the investor perspective, and what this means for our economy going forward.
Yeah, so I think there are several factors accounting for that. One of them being our macroeconomic environment, which, of course, obviously, we are having challenges. Secondly, is the significant interest in other resources outside Africa. So some of them have exited not only the Ghana market, but the African market. So it is not out of place to say that they are exiting Ghana. It's just better decision. They are moving to Guyana and other places where they find it a lot more investor friendly and they are getting a lot of benefits. So what we need to do is to also look at our petroleum regime. What are we giving to the investors to encourage them or to motivate them to invest in our markets?
Okay, one more question before you go. In terms of returns from oil savings, we have a little over $1 billion. Is that good enough?
I think, like we discussed before, we could have done, and one of the ways to do more is to increase your participating interest in oil resources. Sovereign or countries that have benefited from oil resources have significant stake in their oil investment. So where you have 15 or 10% participating interest, it's wholly insignificant. And so in previous when oil price went up, we did not get much benefit because your interest is about 15% or 10%. So if we have, and I think that's why GNPC, for instance, is looking at investing in oil sector. And I think the good idea, what we need to do is, are we investing in blocks that have got prospects, or we are just investing for the sake of it? We should be investing in blocks that have got significant prospects so that we get returns in the future.
All right. Yaolate, thank you so much for speaking with us. Partner at Deloitte Ghana, appreciate your time. Well, let's turn to other news. International research and market information firm Fit Solutions has expressed optimism of a likely IMF board approval for a program for Ghana in the first quarter of this year. That's according to its latest Sub-Saharan Africa macroeconomic update. Now, Fit Solutions' assessment is based on the analysis that Ghana has made significant progress for the domestic debt exchange program, a key condition for the $3 billion balance of payment support from the fund. Mike Kudiga is senior country risk analyst at Fit Solutions based in London.
The first thing I should say is that our core view is that the IMF executive board approval will happen over the coming weeks, so in the first quarter of 2023. Should this not happen, we would expect investor sentiment to remain rather weak over the coming months, which will put additional pressure on the exchange rate. So in that case, the currency will depreciate much, more significantly than we currently anticipate. So what would happen in that instance is that inflation would remain much higher for much longer, right? And this would then weigh on real incomes. It would weigh on overall private sector activity. So in this instance, economic growth would likely come in much weaker than the 2.9% that we're currently forecasting.
Turning to one of our top stories this afternoon, a Kumasi High Court has quashed the suspension of the president of Kwaw Cocoa Cooperative, Cocoa Farmers and Marketing Union, Fatima Ali, who was suspended by management for allegedly embezzling company funds. The impasse affected the company's annual purchases of cocoa beans, which dropped from over 1 million bags to less than 200 bags. Here's more in this report.
Some management members of Kwaw Cocoa, a licensed cocoa buying company, suspended and caused the arrest of Fatima Ali for allegedly embezzling 9 million Ghana cedis. But Fatima Ali argued the allegations were untrue and that there were no company structures following her suspension. After months in court, a Kumasi High Court presided over by Justice George Adair-Krofa quashed the suspension. Lawyer of the accused, Evans Amankwa, wants the restored president to bring other team members on board to restore the company to its glory.
When you win a case and you are not magnanimous in your jubilation, it offends the other party. So if you want to have a makeable solution to the problem and you offend that person, how would you be able to extend that olive branch to that person? It will be virtually impossible. That is why I was telling them that they should be magnanimous in their celebration of that victory. Because at the end of the day, in my victory for anybody's victory for Kwaw Cocoa Farmers Union. And for that matter, the company should come together. They should unite and push the company forward. That is the most important aspect of the thing. I'm a lawyer, and I get paid by my work. I would have loved for the litigation to continue. But I believe that when it continues like that, the company that will suffer. Because a company that is capable of buying over 1 million bags of cocoa a year, yes, they've not been able to buy even, I don't think they've been able to buy even 200,000 bags of cocoa this year. So this is a very serious detriment to the company. And for that matter, they should find a way of resolving their differences for the company to move forward.
Pursuant to the court directive, all actions or decisions made in her absence have been set aside. The president and board chairman of Kwaw Cocoa, Fatima Ali, has welcomed all-inclusive suggestions. According to her, the victory is for the company and not an individual.
Court say including National Executive Council. There will be any problem. So will be a problem. Be not such a round table. I'm ready to do.
The court has given us the go-ahead to do our businesses. If any member of this company has issues, let's sit down to iron our differences. We should focus on the progress of Kuyapa Cocoa. Our inability to purchase more cocoa due to this internal wrangling has affected our partners and bankers.
Cocoa ayetono eno no na ma yen so edin adu achi afi cocoa ayetoye no enso ani enti ama wo mo so wo mo bekire wo mo san se wo mo ni assign contract enti no ba bia kwa koduro no etuo entwere ba bia twene.
Some farmers of the union who were enthused with the victory called on police to join hands to revive the union.
Ekunimdi aye kan sese na nya madam Fatima edin kuna ikuapa cocoa. The
victory is for Kuyapa Cocoa and not Madame Fati. Our colleagues should join us to push the brand. Mona Lisa Frimpon reporting.
Now, Guinness Ghana Breweries PLC has relaunched the production of its Star Beer brand in Kumasi, where the product was originally brewed in Ghana. Asante Inotunfo said to the second, says the move offers employment opportunities for the people of Kumasi. Prince Pia was there and reports.
Star Beer has been a popular choice among consumers in Kumasi for several years until operations moved to Accra. Consumption is often associated with casual occasions, good moments, celebrations and social events in the city. Made from rich, locally sourced raw materials, Star Beer is now closer to consumers in Kumasi with its signature million sparkling bubbles. Managing Director of Guinness Ghana, Helen Wiese, spoke at the product's relaunch.
When we first started brewing here, it wasn't only about creating the most refreshing beer. It was really about creating a connection between the brand and this city and its people. And I'm happy to say that this connection has stood the test of time and is stronger now, even more than ever. Now, indeed, due to the growth of Guinness Ghana, for some time, Star Beer needed to be brewed in our other brewery, in Achimota Brewery, while Cassie Brewery was focusing on some other famous brands like Guinness and Origin. But now Star is back in Kumasi and is back here to stay. 70% of the products in our portfolio are brewed with local raw materials and local ingredients. So yes, our LRM program has contributed to the economic gains of the country. We continue to operate and do that as a responsible business while ensuring that we conduct business in the right way with all the stakeholders.
Head of beers at Guinness Ghana Limited, Rolando Fori, says the beer symbolizes the optimism of the everyday person in the Ashanti region. He explains why it is critical to reintroduce beer to the Ashanti region.
We believe that we are a brand that embodies the true essence of Ghanaians, and we've done the first 60 years with them, and we will still be here in the next 60 years. So ensuring that we are paying our dues with respect to the socio-economic development of the areas where we operate in, not even forgetting our farmers, our retailers, the bar owners. We believe that it is also our own small way of contributing to the socio-economic fabric of this country. So we will continue to first of all ensure that they get their best brewed quality beer, which never compromises on quality.
Asantehene Otumfo said to the second is excited. The move will offer employment for the people of Kumasi, among other benefits.
Now, I thank you for bringing Star Beer. I thank you for bringing life to this factory. I thank you for bringing employment to my people. And I assure you that we would do everything possible to support you in your operations here. And therefore, I'm here because I came to assure you that I'm always a part of this development, and I shall always be for my people and for Ghana.
Star Beer is a great tasting, award-winning quality Ghanaian beer made from rich, locally sourced raw materials. Prince Apia reporting.
All right, that report ending the marketplace. Let's check out the headlines on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. Some good news on the cedi. The cedi continues stability against dollar. $1 equals 12.60 cedis. Also, it should not take IMF to direct government not to borrow from Bank of Ghana. That's according to IA Research Director. Get all the day's latest business stories on our website, myjoyonline.com/business. My name is Daryl Kwaw. Thanks for watching. We will be back same time tomorrow.